Thanks, Clive. Hello, I'm Jennifer Jones with the headlines in Wales. Prison sentences for hospital worker Tracy Turner and her boyfriend Stuart Compton, who planned brutal sex offences against 3 children.
The discussions between you about sexually abusing these children were not pure fantasy. They clearly show that you both had a sexual interest in young children and that you both intended to carry out your brutal and perverted sexual plans.
Also in tonight's programme, figures show monthly rent payments in the private sector have risen more than 8% since last June.
It's the only thing I'm focusing on at the moment. It's just getting you guys paid. That's it. So
the convicted fraudster behind a make-believe music festival that promised big headline bands but left staff and suppliers out of pocket.
Hello, in tonight's sport. Completing the tour one last time, Geraint Thomas tells us of his special memories riding in cycling's showpiece event.
It's the pinnacle of the sport, you know, it's the biggest bike race in the world, so something I always dreamed of doing.
Good evening, Noswaith. A man from Cardiff has received a life sentence for planning what have been described as brutal sex offences against 3 children alongside his girlfriend. 46-year-old Stuart Compton will spend a minimum of 7 years behind bars. 52-year-old hospital worker Tracy Turner received a 12-year prison sentence plus another 2 on licence. The judge said the couple's actions had devastated the children's families. Stephen Fairclough reports from Merthyr Tydfil Crown Court.
Shielding his face as he arrived at Merthyr Tydfil Crown Court, Stuart Compton, who wrote thousands of messages detailing the planning of the brutal rape and abuse of 3 children under the age of 13. With his girlfriend, hospital operating theatre assistant Tracy Turner, he discussed how the pair would get access to and how they would abuse the children, 2 of whom were aged 8 and 1 of whom was aged 12. Prosecution barrister Matthew Cobb said that the messages over many months showed a clear attempt to arrange and commit sexual activities with the children. He added that no contact was made with the children, but there were clear intentions. Mr. Cobb said fantasy plainly turned into obsession, as Compton described in messages graphic accounts of what he wanted to do with individual children. The court heard the offending had nothing to do with Turner's hospital job, and the pair were caught after concerns were raised about the messages sent by Compton on a dating app. Compton also admitted possessing and distributing indecent images of children.
Both you, Mr. Compton, and you, Ms. Turner, exchanged messages over a period of many months. There were exchanges in 2019 where you discussed the fact that WhatsApp was secure and that, as a result, your exchanges would be secure. This belief, in turn, allowed you to discuss your desires and your intentions at length. The conversations demonstrated a clear intent to arrange and commit the sexual acts, although the acts themselves did not ultimately take place.
Personal impact statements from the parents of the children were read in court. One mother said when she heard what the messages contained, it was gut-wrenching and sickening. The thought of what could have happened to our child by 2 people with monstrous sexual intent is unfathomable. The father of another child said, "The pain they have put me and my family through is incomprehensible. It's harder than losing my mother." And the mother of a 3rd child said, "I am furious to have been put in a situation where I have to lie to my child to protect them from the truth," adding, "In time, I hope my internal horror will diminish."
A small team of detectives reviewed in the region of 100,000 messages between Tracy Turner and Stuart Compton that was sent between one another. The volume and nature of the content was disturbing, the worst of the worst. Thankfully, the victims had no knowledge of what was taking place. In statements provided to the court, some family members of the victims have described the devastating impact of the crimes, and we hope today's sentencing brings them a little comfort. Offenders like Turner and Compton believe they can hide behind phone screens, but this is clearly not the case. The successful prosecution and conviction of these 2 dangerous, high-risk sexual predators will ensure that children are protected.
Compton and Turner looked down throughout the hearing, with Turner weeping loudly. Tonight, they're beginning long prison sentences after the judge said they both clearly intended to carry out brutal abuse.
And if you've been affected by any of the details in Stephen's report, details of organisations which can provide help and support are available on the BBC's Action Line website. 3 men and a woman are being questioned by police on suspicion of arson with intent to endanger life after a fire at a terraced house in Ferndale in Rhondda-Cynon-Taf in the early hours of this morning. Well, Colette Hume is in the newsroom and can tell us more. Colette.
Well, Jen, firefighters and the police were called to the blaze in Prothero Street at 1:24 this morning, and the fire service didn't leave until just before 7 o'clock this morning. Now, as you can see from the images we're going to show you now, this was a very serious fire indeed. Now, we're told that some local residents were treated for smoke inhalation, but thankfully there were no serious injuries. And because this house was in a terrace street with the risk of the fire spreading, local residents have been evacuated. They were taken to a rest centre set up at Rhondda Fach Sports Centre, where they were supported by council staff, and throughout the day that support has continued. Now, Jen, some interesting information coming from the police, who tell us within half an hour of the first 999 call, officers from the traffic policing unit had arrested 4 people. They are 18, 19 and 23-year-old men and one 19-year-old woman. They are all being questioned on suspicion of arson with intent to endanger life. They remain in police custody. Police are appealing for anyone living in the area with dashcam or Ring doorbell footage to make contact with them.
OK, Colette, thank you. Colette Hume reporting there. Now, average rents in Wales have risen by more than 8% in the year to June. The Office for National Statistics suggests average rent is now £804 a month. Meanwhile, house prices have remained broadly stable. Well, our money editor Felicity Evans has the details.
Stephen from Llandudno lost his job during the pandemic and has struggled to find a new one. So the costs of daily living have been eating into his savings. And while he says his rent hasn't increased too much, he's concerned about what the future might bring.
I don't know where I will be if I can't get another job. You feel very insecure because, I mean, whilst the landlord has been pretty good, he could decide he needs to sell the house or put the rent up.
He's not alone in feeling the pressure. The latest estimates from the Office for National Statistics suggest that private sector rents in Wales rose by 8.2% in the year to June, bringing average rent to £804 a month. Compare that to house prices. The latest figures from the Principality Building Society suggest prices have remained stable in the second quarter of this year compared to a year ago, seeing a rise of just 0.7%, bringing the average price to £238,098. But the big news is the increase in the number of sales, up 13% on the same period last year, and a sustained increase over the last 4 quarters, suggesting that while average prices haven't moved much, the market has got busier.
Transaction sales are I guess, the leading indicator of some resilience in the market. And I think the fundamental point is that where we listen to our customers saying historically it has been difficult because affordability has been the main challenge for them. You know, notwithstanding saving for a deposit, but this affordability challenge is starting to ease as Bank of England base rate reduces and mortgage prices come down.
Paula from Cwmbran has experienced that busier housing market. She'd previously downsized with her husband, but when their children wanted to come back to live with them, they needed a bigger house. Their old, smaller place sold within 2 days of being on the market, though finding their new, bigger place was more of a challenge.
It was a struggle for us because we had certain criteria, I guess, that we wanted. You know, there was a few things that were there, but probably in a higher bracket that we wanted to pay. So we felt really lucky, actually, that we got this, and it ticked most of the boxes for us as a family.
The figures from the Principality suggest that falling interest rates and stable prices have made it more affordable for some first-time buyers to get into the property market. But pressure continues on renters. ONS data suggests that annual rent rises in Wales have declined from their peak. But even so, a year-on-year rise of more than 8% is still a stark jump amid ongoing cost of living challenges.
Well, Fliss is with me now. So what are the prospects of some of that pressure on rents easing by the end of the year?
Well, Jen, as I said in the piece, rents are well past their peak increase, which was an annual increase of 9.9% back in November 2023. Since then, we have seen the rate of increasing start to slow, but it is still high and it is still really difficult for people to cope with. Now, I was speaking to an estate agent who's also a member of a landlords organisation, and he was suggesting that a lot of the additional costs for landlords that they've seen recently have started to bed in, and that he felt rent costs were reaching an affordability ceiling in Wales. It's also the case that a lot of people are expecting further interest rate cuts from the Bank of England, which may in turn ease pressures on landlords that then eases pressure on tenants as well. But there is a big structural problem here, and that is housing supply. There are simply not enough of the right type of houses in the right places. Now, the Welsh Government promised an additional 20,000 social homes for rent in this Parliament. That means between the last Senedd election in 2021 and in 2026 next year. And if you look at the published figures, they are still some way away from achieving that target. So it would need a big push this year for them to hit it.
OK, Fliss, thank you very much. And you can read much more about this on the BBC Wales News website. Scan this QR code with your phone to find an interactive map which tells you the average house prices where you live in Wales and if house prices are going up or down in your area. Still to come in the programme. With his young son sitting on the handlebars, former winner Geraint Thomas says an emotional farewell to the Tour de France as he prepares to retire from racing.
There's no sign yet of another heat wave. Some dry spells and sunshine this week, but grey and damp at times as well, together with a few heavy showers. I'll have the latest forecast.
Now, the founder of a 3-day music festival in Monmouth, which never happened, says he had every intention of delivering it, even though BBC Wales has found the headline acts weren't booked, licence applications weren't completed, and the investors James Kenny claimed were on board had never heard of him. Monmouth Rising collapsed in February, leaving employees and suppliers unpaid. Kayleigh Thomas has been looking into what went wrong.
17th of the 7th, 5 to 12. 3 minutes past 12. OK, and that was an older number, so...
For months, we've been investigating a man called James Kenny.
The number you have called is not recognised.
Who gave us this one?
Please check the number.
He was the face of Monmouth Rising, which claimed to be the world's first hydrogen-powered music festival planned for the August bank holiday weekend. But it started to unravel, leaving a trail of debt with his employees and suppliers failing to get answers from Mr. Kenny, so we set about tracking him down.
Oh, hi, is that James Kenny?
Speaking.
So is this where you normally work then?
Yeah. This is where I usually pop down.
For Genevieve Barker, a mum of 5 from Hereford, she was excited to go and work for James Kenny.
The package that he put together was more money than I've ever made. It had private dental, private healthcare, a pension. This is a career move of a lifetime.
But within weeks of taking up her role as head of partnerships, things started to go wrong.
The full list of artists was being held back, and he claimed it was on purpose. And he wouldn't tell us how many tickets were being sold, and it started to seem very sloppy.
A closer inspection of the festival's glossy pitch deck revealed AI-generated artwork containing made-up words and wonky Welsh dragons. The 3-day event was due to be held at Monmouth Showground and, according to Mr. Kenny, would feature Glastonbury headliners like Pulp and The Killers. He even commissioned this theme tune for an advert he claimed would star Luther actor and DJ Idris Elba. But the correct licensing and permissions for the festival weren't in place. The bands weren't booked. Idris Elba's agent says there was no record of Idris doing anything for this man. The company that wrote the theme music, Audio Maze Limited, said they were never paid.
Good evening, everybody.
It was at this public meeting of Monmouth Town Council in early February that James Kenny gave a confident assessment of the festival's progress as concerns mounted.
What is your background in organising festivals?
I won't reveal most of that information for personal reasons. I spend a lot of time doing events for film companies and for festivals. I actually run the Pop-Up Hotel at Glastonbury.
But he doesn't. Glastonbury's Pop-Up Hotel says he's never run it. Less than 3 weeks after this meeting, the festival imploded. Suppliers and employees hadn't been paid and were receiving messages like this.
The only thing I'm focusing on at the moment is just getting you guys paid. That's it. So as soon as I get it, I'm transferring it straight away. Promise.
The web designers who hadn't been paid for 3 months pulled the website.
Now looking back at it, it was the right thing to do, because it was then that other suppliers started to question how genuine that whole thing was.
Adam and James had been friends over a decade, but Adam says in a last-ditch attempt to show he had money coming in to pay them, James presented them with a £90,000 loan agreement, which rang alarm bells. We've discovered that this loan was never approved because the documents used to support it were potentially fraudulent and flagged to police. In 2008, James Kenny pleaded guilty to 2 counts of fraud after forging his wife's signature to get a mortgage payment and clear £15,000 worth of debt. We've managed to track him down. Oh, hi, is that James Kenny?
Speaking.
James, hi there. I'm calling from the BBC. We're recording this. I just wanted to ask you about Monmouth Rising, your festival.
OK.
Was that festival real?
Yes, it was real. That's quite a horrible question to ask, because the answer is yes. I spent well over a year working on this, and it was the only thing I focused on.
Well, a lot of people have told us that they've lost money.
A lot of people... Right, OK. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but anyone who's lost money is more than happy to contact me directly, Kelly.
Well, they can't, though, can they, because you've changed your number? We put all of our allegations to Mr. Kenny in writing. Although he didn't respond to them in detail, in a statement he said his sole motivation was to create something meaningful at personal cost to both his health and finances. He said it fell apart when he realised he wouldn't be able to get permission for an event of that size at Monmouth Showground. He added he was truly repentant, promising directly to those affected, "I will repay you." Although he insists he intended the festival to go ahead, Genevieve, who still owed £5,000 in wages, isn't so sure.
I think he's a fraudster because he's a fantasist and a narcissist. It's impacted everybody that put their hopes in this event.
That was Genevieve Barker finishing Kayleigh Thomas's report. Right, the sport now, and the end of an era for cyclist Geraint Thomas. Thomas is here.
Yes, but what a career, Jen. Welsh cyclist Geraint Thomas says the Tour de France holds special memories after his final ride in the sport's showpiece event. The winner from 2018 will retire from cycling in September and has been looking back at his career, including his long association with the Tour, which began 18 years ago. From Paris, here's David Pritchard.
2007, and preparing for his first Tour. The youngest rider in the race that year.
I only turned 21 a few weeks ago, so it's a big ask to try and finish my first Tour, especially as a first-year pro.
Then, 11 years later, who could forget? Cardiff at a standstill to welcome home Wales's first Tour de France champion. Now he's the oldest participant in cycling's greatest race. Geraint Thomas is the first in the Tour's long and storied history to have been all three. And in Paris last night, he brought the curtain down on his 18-year association with the race.
It definitely feels like the right time now. I think, well, it was a super hard race. Like, the Tour's always hard, but, you know, the way we're racing's changing, and maybe not just physical as well, you know, the way just the boys sort of, the aggression in the peloton and everything, the respect, everything is just it's changing. So I'm definitely happy to be stepping away now.
This is Thomas's 14th Tour, during which he's cycled for more than 1,000 hours. And over the years, he's clocked up a total of 26,000 miles, which is longer than the circumference of the Earth. No wonder, then, that the 39-year-old is ready to call it a day.
It's where it all started, really, you know. It's where, you know, I did it my first year as a pro and was the youngest guy then and oldest guy now. It's full circle, and Yeah, it's the pinnacle of the sport. You know, it's the biggest bike race in the world. So something I always dreamed of doing.
A decision on what comes next can wait. First, a chance to spend more time with family.
They go through just as much as me, if not more, you know. And it's just been great that Max has been able to be on the podium with me like 3 times. So I never thought, when he was born, I was thinking, oh, it's a shame because he'll never get to see me perform. I'll always be the one telling him, oh, I used to be good, you know, back in my day. But it's been nice. He's been on, you know, the Giro podium twice and the Tour. So it's, yeah, special memories.
Yeah, there's, what, 180 of them in the race, and, you know, most of them lose. So the highs, when they come, they're amazing, and they're so high, but the lows are so incredibly low that it's, sometimes you do start thinking, is it worthwhile? But then you have those amazing days, and you forget all the bad days again until you're in them again. And so it is such a roller coaster. And so I just think it's so lovely for Geraint that he's been able to finish his last Tour de France on his own terms. Not many people get to do that.
This is not quite the end of the road for Thomas, who'll retire fully at the end of this year. One final race, September's Tour of Britain, which will fittingly finish in his home city of Cardiff. Then he'll be able to reflect on 2 Olympic gold medals, world titles and multiple other awards. But it was winning here in 2018 that really changed his life. By becoming the first Welshman to win the Tour de France, Thomas transformed cycling in his homeland and secured his status as a Welsh sporting legend. David Pritchard, BBC Wales Today in Paris.
To rugby, and Wales women are aiming for another victory over Australia on Friday in their final match before the World Cup next month. Wales beat Australia in Brisbane at the weekend, the first victory for the side under head coach Sean Lynn. Wales will be looking to back up their performance when they meet Australia again in Sydney on Friday.
We've had real tough conversations, and we've worked so hard these past 8 weeks to have that result. Really puts us in a good place moving forward. We'll celebrate that result, but we'll back it up again next week. We need to give us a good platform going into the World Cup.
Football, and Wales defender Lily Woodham has joined Liverpool days after leaving Seattle Reign. Woodham, who started all of Wales's games at the Euros this summer, spent most of last season on loan at Crystal Palace. She joins her Wales teammates Gemma Evans and Kerry Holland at the club. And that's it from me, Jen.
Thomas, diolch, thanks. Now it's sung during state occasions and by thousands of rugby fans. I'm talking about the famous Welsh hymn Cwm Rhondda, sometimes known as Bread of Heaven. Well, there had been fears that the chapel where it was first sung would be turned into flats after it was put up for sale. But a local campaign group believe they may have saved it, as Matt Murray reports.
It is an iconic hymn, recognised across the world. Cwm Rhondda, or Bread of Heaven, was first performed here in 1907, composed by John Hughes to celebrate the chapel's new organ. Locals feared the building's low price of around £48,000 could see it being bought by a property developer and its history lost. Rhian Hopkins was convinced she could save it. Rhian put a post on Facebook and the campaign snowballed from there. She started an online crowdfunder and worked 12 hours a day and has raised enough money to buy the chapel in 2 weeks.
I can't quite believe it. On Friday, I posted something online saying, you know, am I about to wake up from a extremely realistic, vivid dream? But I felt this isn't just any chapel. This is the home of Cwm Rhondda. This is the home of Bread of Heaven. This is a really important part of not just local heritage, but Welsh heritage and potentially worldwide heritage from the response we've had.
The chapel in Hopkins Town near Pontypridd closed at the end of last year because of a dwindling number of worshippers. The owners of the building, the Welsh Baptist Union, have said the decision to sell it was not taken lightly, but hope the new owners will bring a new chapter to the building. The deadline for bids was midday today. The campaign has raised nearly £58,000. Singer and broadcaster Beverly Humphreys is a supporter of the campaign.
And this hymn, really, Cwm Rhondda, is in our DNA.
as Welsh people. I'm a Pontypridd girl. It's been in my heart ever since I can remember. And when you think 120 years, all the hearts that Cwm Rhondda has touched.
Rhian believes this could be a tourist attraction after all the interest her campaign has had, as well as a community space. She'll find out if her bid has been successful later this week.
Matt Murray reporting there. Right, let's get the weather forecast now. And Derek, what's in store for the rest of the week?
Hi, Jen. Well, changeable sums it up for the next few days. That means some rain and showers in the forecast, but some dry spells and sunshine in the mix as well, with temperatures around average for late July. Back to today, and we saw some dark clouds in Ruthin this afternoon, but it did stay dry for Helen's Walk in the Vale of Clwyd. Much sunnier in Penarth in the Vale of Glamorgan. This picture, it should come up. Will it? There it goes. We've got some blue sky in Penarth today overlooking the Bristol Channel. And the warmest place in the country today was Usk in Monmouthshire with a high of 24 Celsius, 75 Fahrenheit. A little cooler in Llandudno with a light breeze off the sea. So fine this evening across the country, but overnight things will change. It will cloud over with outbreaks of rain spreading eastwards during the early hours. A few heavy bursts of rain possible in the west and on Anglesey. Temperatures dropping to about 10 Celsius in Brecon, 15 in Fishguard. So tomorrow then we have a frontal system over the UK sliding its way towards France with high pressure near the Azores. So not a great start tomorrow morning. Cloudy with patchy outbreaks of rain and drizzle, some poor visibility with low cloud, mist and hill fog. But into the afternoon it will turn drier, brightening up in places, but the sunshine could spark off a few heavy showers in eastern Powys and Monmouthshire, maybe a rumble of thunder. And feeling muggy tomorrow, quite close. Temperatures ranging from about 18 Celsius in Rhyl to a high of 22 or 23 in Cowbridge. On to Wednesday, a drier day. Any showers you see will fade away, leaving a fine afternoon with increasing amounts of sunshine and a little warmer on Wednesday. Highest temperatures in the southeast, 23 or 24 Celsius. Elsewhere, 19 to 22 Celsius. Then on Thursday, scattered showers could be heavy in places, maybe thunder in Machynlleth, but turning drier and sunnier during the afternoon and evening. And then on Friday, a cooler and fresher day, breezier too, with sunny spells and just 1 or 2 showers. At the moment, Saturday looks the driest day of the weekend. It may turn more unsettled, wetter and windier on Sunday. Jen.
Derek, thank you very much. And that is Wales Today. Eleanor Rice will be here with the headlines at 10:30 tonight. But until then, do have a good evening. Hyfar. Bye-bye.